That is making headlines on the Daily Nation. Uproar as parties dish out East African community seats to cronies. The same story is also captured aptly on page 8 of the Standard, where there's a new twist to it. ODM MPs who lost in the primaries are taking on the National Election Board Chair, Judy Pareno, one of the people whose names have been proposed for this position. Before we delve into this, I will ask my director, Robert, if we have the story.
Controversy is stalking the opposition's appointees to the East Africa Legislative Assembly. Wiper's choice of its party leader Kalonzo Musyoka's son, Kennedy Musyoka, sparking protests. But the party remains steadfast that Kennedy was the party's best choice.
The fact that he's the son of Kalonzo Musyoka is a biological accident. We cannot deny him his right. If we deny him his right, it's like denying many other Kenyans their own rights.
Kennedy Kalonzo got 22 votes against his runners-up, who got only 1 vote to be nominated by Wiper Party to the Assembly. Others include ODM Elections Board Chair Judy Pareno, Abubakar Hussein and Ronald Ngenyi. DP Ruto was critical of the opposition's choice, saying the opposition had resorted to cronyism and therefore could not be trusted to form government.
Which one is worse? You are talking to us about uniting Kenya. You are not even practicing tribalism. You are practicing nepotism. Nepotism is worse than tribalism, for your information, my friends.
Jubilee vowing to stop the opposition scheme in its tracks when the names are presented to the floor of the House. Majority Leader Eden Duale saying he will marshal MPs to reject Kennedy. Last week, opposition leader Raila Odinga's elder brother Oburu Oginga stepped down from the EALA nominations after his appearance raised storm.
If you are practicing nepotism, you have no capacity to lead a tribeless Kenya. You have no capacity and you have no moral authority to lecture us about tribalism.
Jubilee has nominated Simon Mbugua, who dropped out of the Starehe Jubilee parliamentary race, former Interior Principal Secretary Mutea Iringo, who lost Imenti North parliamentary nominations, former National Assembly Clerk Justin Bundi, Justice Mate and Edan Nur. EALA parliamentarians enjoy a monthly gross salary of about 1.4 million shillings inclusive of allowances, a vehicle provided by the mother country, a free visa to member countries and travel allowances. The MPs are free from the pressure of running any constituency and having supporters lining up for help and handouts. EALA legislatures are involved in East Africa community budget making process and formulation of legislation.
That's as far as Kennedy Kalonzo is concerned. On the ODM side, a section of Orange Democratic Movement lawmakers who lost in the nominations are plotting to revenge against the party election board chairperson. The MPs, furious after losing the primaries, have vowed to shoot down the nomination of the election board chairperson Judy Pareno to the East African Legislative Assembly. They accuse her of presiding over their downfall in the primaries. Gentlemen, what is the politics about this? Is it a default to be related to somebody in a position?
I want to make disclosures. Disclosure number 1 is that I'm in the select committee of the House, and that's the Senate and National Assembly, that will vet these nominees. It's an ongoing issue, so I might not get into a lot of the details. Suffice to say that I also expressed my reservations to my party on the politics of what will arise when we name my party leader's son into this. That is not on competency, just the politics of it. The politics of it is that people would run after it like we already like they are doing. It's selling newspapers. It's in all headlines. That portion was going to be a crisis for us, but the nomination and approval process through the rules that we have gazetted and the election will eventually determine who is put there. The fact that a person has been proposed does not necessarily mean they will win. There are those who are of the view that we should have given more numbers as opposed to giving one candidate. We should have given more numbers. What Kenyans might not know is that prior to 2 months ago, these elections to the EALA were only being done by the National Assembly. Now you have 2 polling stations, one at Senate,
one at the National
Assembly. And people will vote secretly for these candidates. what I've heard from the ODM people is that they should have given more names, more choices, and Wiper also should have given more choices as opposed to zeroing in on one candidate. But the panel where I will be sitting will call to interview all these persons on merit, on competencies. What we have a problem with is the politics that political parties have used this platform, either to reward people like
Mutai Ringo,
Simon Mbugua, or Judy Pareno, who was sitting in National Elections Board, or
who is an incumbent member of EALA.
Incumbent member of EALA, or in the case of Wiper, is the son of our party leader. Those things. That's the politics of the day. The question we should be asking ourselves ultimately is the EALA assembly useful to us? Who do we need in that assembly? What should be the criteria of electing or selecting these persons? Should we do it in a more transparent manner? I'm not happy about the process, but there we are. We are stuck with it.
Deputy Governor, a very thin line between.
I think what Senator has put across is very, very important, and competence should play the key role of who goes to EALA.
Regardless of whose son, whose daughter, which position.
Whether we will want to look at it from one is coming from a dynasty or whether one is coming from where. I think competence is what is key. We should as well see if these legislators go to EALA, what results do they bring back to their mother country? Regardless of which political divide they belong to. And since the arithmetic to get it there is that you must belong to a certain political divide, then we should get the people going to EALA as very competent people and people who will bring results. Whether the chair of the electoral board of ODM is the rightful candidate. I would also want to look at it with a little bit of mischief and look at what even the NASA team is looking at. They have the deputies who will be the deputy premiers who are running for political seats. So they have a promise that may you go and fail in Bomet, may you go and fail in Bungoma, then you have another seat to wait for. So whether Jude did what she did with the promise that she's going to EALA is something that should be looked at. And I'd ask my colleagues from NASA to look at. Do you have this promise that one fails and gets? Mheshimiwa Ayako, when you fail in Migori, you cannot be promised anything.
As you ask that, put into context Simon Mbugua, put into context Mutai Ringo.
I'll do
Simon Mbugua give it so that he'll be appointed to EALA?
If then that is the case, he must be one of the lucky people.
I tell you.
Fair enough.
I want to say this, that one, I'm a lawyer by training. Two, I have also studied constitutional law, democracy and governance at a higher level, and also leadership at even a higher level. When you go to EALA, it's not about competition along party lines. It's about national interest. As a Kenyan, there is a claim that we are losing our premium position in East African politics. We need to see an administration crafting out an objective. What objective do we want out there? Where do we want our position to be in East Africa? These are very important offices.
What task and who do we send to deliver them?
In terms of achieving this agenda. So that is what is getting lost in this cacophony when people start jostling for it. Now, when it comes to Wiper, and the son of the leader of Wiper has been nominated, I know that when we want to be legalistic about it, he's entitled, that's his right to do so. But in good governance, you should not superintend in a process that yields the success of a relative. In all forms of recruitment, you cannot sit there and say that your wife, your daughter is the most competent person to occupy that office. in good governance, if you are the party leader of ODM, you cannot say that your brother, Dr. Odinga, is the most competent person. There must be a transparent process where you are not a judge over a process where your relative is competing. So that is so. Now, if you look at,
because we are running out of
now,
time,
if you look at what the deputy president is talking about, chronism and tribalism, I think he is not transparent about it. Just go and look at the appointments that have been driven by his side of the coalition. You do not see anybody beyond his ethnicity. So all of these politicians are politicking about appointments. The whole thing is a tragedy. What I think is important is to get the big agenda for Kenya. Are we sending people who are going to put Kenya first? Are we sending people who are going to achieve our agenda? We should not politic about our premium position as a country.
Thank you. I want to take you away from politics, and this is the question to you. Corruption, nepotism, and tribalism. Corruption as a title, nepotism and tribalism, which is worse?
None of them will build this country. Corruption won't, tribalism won't, nepotism won't at all. What I would want to say is that because in the context of this matter, I am in the executive, I am a civil servant, these people are politicians. Those people you finally vote in, when they require expert advice on aviation security and management of crime and cross-border crime, we shall be there to support them.
So anybody who is competent should be given a chance?
Those people who are
competent, their relation?
I have a very bias on the younger people. We give them an opportunity. It must not be tomorrow all the time, but I wouldn't want to comment on politics or individual politicians. Once you elect whom you elect, Parliament and Senate, in your wisdom, we in the executive, we in the civil service, we shall give you your full support so that you represent us in the best interest of the Kenyan citizen.
If you promise to be good gentlemen, I'll give you 30 seconds each to wind up.
I'm happy about what the IBC has done about voter identification, voter registration. I'm urging all Kenyans to do so. Check your biometrics. We don't want dead voters voting. We want a transparent process. But Chebukati should call political parties at any given moment from now until August 8th, so that we walk step by step, day by day, on election prepared.
Thank you. Eric.
Kenyans, in issues of UNGA, in issues of floods, I would want to confirm and to assert to you that you have a president who is very, very close to these problems and who is pushing us as the civil service to ensure that the problems of the Kenyan citizen, especially those who are not so privileged, are solved in a manner that they are able to be productive, they are able to enjoy their democratic rights, and they are able to actively take part in moving this country to the next level.
Thank you very much. Deputy Governor.
As we get to the campaigns from the 28th of May, I would ask Kenyans to be very peaceful, and for politicians to conduct very peaceful elections, and I urge the Kenyans to vote back the Jubilee government.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is a year of decision making for Kenyans, and leadership is very important when it comes to driving the nation forward. I want to encourage Kenyans to come out and peacefully and also consciously vote for the leader they want. I want to ask Kenyans to focus more on issues. The issues that are burning now is the food prices, the runaway unemployment, corruption, and all these issues. It's not just about accusing those in authority, but it's also about who is offering the best solution.
Thank you very much. Mheshimiwa Chilo says this is a time of making decisions, and I want you to make a decision. We have been talking about disasters and floods. We have been talking about food scarcity, floods everywhere, landslides in Murang'a and all, security and everything. I still strongly believe that if 40 or 42 million Kenyans each plant one tree, we'll be mitigating this problem, or at least bringing it a little lower. Please plant that tree Samawati, take it away.